What's going on, guys? Hope everybody's doing well. Today we're going to be jumping into my 2021 everyday carry setups. Now when it comes to everyday carry, there are literally so many items that people claim that they carry on their person every day, and sometimes I'm not doubting that people do, but personally I like to keep things simple. Now I do carry a backpack as well. We'll be going over that and some of the items that I like to carry in there, but we're going to be going over the stuff that I actually carry on my person and use every day. Now before we get into that, today's video is brought to you by Big Daddy Unlimited. Big Daddy Unlimited is an online buyers club giving you access to guns, parts, gear, and ammo at a discounted price. Now right now you can sign up and get your first month for 99 cents. I have left a link down in the video description titled 2A Buyers Club. I know for me, ordering things online when it comes to gun parts these days is not the easiest thing to find what you want in stock, especially all at one place, and Big Daddy Unlimited sends out daily emails letting you know what ammo they have in stock, what parts they have in stock, what sales they have. It's just a really convenient way to get most of the stuff that I want from one place. So guys, be sure to check out Big Daddy Unlimited, and a big shout out to them for supporting the channel. With all that out of the way, let's jump into this tabletop and check out some of my 2021 EDC items. Alright, so here is an assortment of some of my everyday carry items. Now I obviously do not carry all of this stuff at one time, but let's jump into this. Now I think I'm going to start with guns, holster setups, and kind of work our way from there. So first gun I want to look at is this Glock 19. Now I'm carrying this in a Shook's custom holster, and what's funny is this holster was actually made for a CZP-10C with an Enforce APLC, and it fits the Glock 19 just fine. Now I know when the CZP-10C first came out, everybody was ranting and raving how it will fit any Glock 19 holster. I found that not to be true. I do not have my CZP-10C anymore. I got rid of it. Good gun, I just really didn't shoot it a lot, but I had a lot of Glock holsters that thing would not fit, and vice versa. I had a lot of CZP-10C holsters, Glocks would not fit. Now, some they do, some they don't. Anyways, random topic. This is a Glock 19 that I've had put together for quite some time. The slide is from Loki Tactical, and this is their Neo slide. Very, very awesome slide. Loki Tactical is no longer making these, but RPCNC, if you look that up on Instagram, Ryan still runs a CNC, and he is still making these slides. Very, very awesome slides. Now, just a quick rundown on the parts on this thing. I'm running a Faxon Firearms flame fluted barrel, and that is non-threaded. I do have a few Faxon threaded barrels, but I really have no need to run a threaded barrel on this setup. For this Glock 19, I left the factory trigger setup, no big deal. I do have some aftermarket triggers in some of these other carry guns, and we'll touch on that here in a few minutes. But besides the Loki Tactical Neo slide, Faxon barrel, Trijicon RMR Type 2, non-adjustable, and I am also running an extended slide release and extended magazine release. Now, these are two kind of must-haves in my opinion when it comes to Glocks. I'm a big fan of the extended slide release especially, but the magazine release is another good one. You just kind of got to be careful what you're getting into there, and I will show you guys why once we get down to my Glock 43. Now, in all of these guns, I believe I'm carrying Federal HST 147 grain. These are some of my favorite carry rounds. They're just solid, they work. I do have some 124 grains as well. All in all, Federal HST is great carry ammo. These days, there's a lot of great carry ammo on the market, and it looks like my other Glock mag that I grabbed here is actually loaded with some Spear Gold Dot Plus P+. I believe these are just 115 grain, but this Plus P+ is some pretty spicy stuff. Now moving on to the next gun here. This is a Smith & Wesson MP Compact 2.0, and I believe that is a Harry's Holsters holster setup for this gun. This gun is pretty much stock. I did do a few things to it, or more or less I did a few things. I guess it's not stock. This gun I picked up from Legion Precision. He went ahead and did the Ghost multicam, which he calls Glock Guy 226 multicam or 226 multicam, something like that. Really badass setup. He did install the Apex Flatty trigger in this gun. What else did we do? These sights, these are some XS, I want to say XS F8 sights, and these things were a bitch to put on. I have sight pushers. I usually change my own sights, and for this I took it to a gunsmith back where I was living in southern Indiana, and he had a hell of a time with it too. But all in all, they're on. Pretty cool sight setup. I do like it. This gun is also rocking a Faxon Firearms flame fluted barrel, and I do have a threaded barrel for this setup as well. I have ran this compensated in the past, but I kind of like carrying it, so I've kind of built it down to the minimal setup with no compensator, no extended mags, anything like that. Now, this gun's also running a Streamlight TLR7. It's an okay light. I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest fan of the TLR7, but for this setup, it does work, and it is a pretty nice little gun. Now, this gun's also running Federal HSTs, believe 147s, they could be 124s. But all in all, Federal HST is kind of my go-to round if you haven't figured that out by now. Now this setup is my Glock 43. Now this Glock 43 has really been through a lot with me. I've had this gun since I want to say 2013, maybe 2014, whenever the Glock 43s first came out. And man, this thing has some miles on it. I really enjoy this setup, and I think one of my favorite things about the Glock 43 is how thin it is. It is such a thin gun compared to most of your double stacks, and nowadays the single stack market has really taken off. I would love to pick up a SIG 365, maybe a 365 XL down the road sometime, but I've just really had no reason to replace this Glock 43. Now, I haven't done too much to this gun. I have a Agency Arms trigger in here. I installed that a long time ago. It was one of my first videos actually, were on these Agency Arms triggers in my Glock 43. I also have a Hive mag release, and as I spoke on extended mag releases earlier, this is one of those things with Glocks that you really just need to pay attention to what magazine release you're buying, what gen your Glock is, and I know most guys aren't gonna order like 5 different brands of magazine releases to see which one they like, but what I've found, especially with a carry gun, is I do like to have an extended mag release, but you don't want it to be too extended where your magazine will lightly get pressed and just be sitting out like that, because I have taken this gun off multiple times and have found that my magazine wasn't fully seated. So that's something you definitely want to pay attention to with any gun, especially if you decide to carry an extended mag release on your carry gun. Now this gun also has True Glow TFX night sights, which are tritium, and they do have some fiber optic in there as well. I've always really liked that. NDZ made me a custom slide plate cover for this, the Glock Guide 226, pretty cool, as well as some matching base pads, and these are +2 base pads. I usually carry this with this Hive +1. Given this magazine, I think 7 + 1 rounds, so 8 rounds in the gun, and this one here will give 9 rounds in the gun. Besides that, we are running a Streamlight TLR6 light laser combo. Now this Battlefield green frame came from my buddy Chris over at F&F Firearms, had this frame laying around, and I was like, man, I have to have that. I've always had just a black Glock 43, and that was cool, but this frame is pretty badass. Now, something I really want to touch on when it comes to my Glock 43 are my holster setups, and that's because I just use them more than anything else. Like I said, these holsters and my Glock 43 really do have some miles on them. As you can see, this holster has really started to break, and I actually noticed this today as I was getting ready for this video. I was like, man, there's a chunk of Kydex missing here. I'm pretty hard on these holsters and gun setups. Years past, I've always done like maintenance type work. I'd be in crawl spaces, attics, on the ground, doing whatever, and as you can see, these holsters do get pretty beat up. Now, this is a spider concealment holster. I've had this holster for probably 3 or 4 years, and I have a lot of Glock 43 holsters, believe me when I say that, and this is honestly my favorite fit of a holster. Now, the pattern is ugly. I think it's ridiculously ugly, not a big fan, but this holster is just so comfortable, and I personally am a big fan of the 1.5-inch belt clips versus belt loops or anything like that. That's just a personal preference. I really have never had too many issues with my gun falling off with these clips, so 1.5-inch belt clips are kind of my go-to. Now, the other 2 holsters that I have here, I want to say this is from A1 Custom Tack, and I'm not sure if the gentleman's even making holsters anymore. This was when I literally first started making videos. I believe I picked this up, and this is not a bad holster. It's fabric wrapped and multicam, but I just don't really care for the fitment as much. It just kind of rides loosely in there, and it's not going to fall out, but I just really don't care for the fitment. Now this holster here, I really like the multicam pattern, and this is from Gearcraft holsters. Good dudes, but once again, once the gun's in there, it just kind of sits loosely. As you can hear that rattle, and I'm just not the biggest fan of that. It's not gonna go anywhere. I've used this holster for, I think, a number of years, honestly. Not a bad setup, but like I said, when it comes to fitment, I just think the spider concealment is all in all the best for my Glock 43 setup. Now, moving on from there, and I think I probably should have started on this topic of belts, because belts are highly overlooked when it comes to everyday carry, and they're one of the most important items. Now, this belt is one that I really don't use a lot. I kind of brought it up for an example. Just a gun belt period is good to get into, and what that really means is it's gonna have thicker webbing. Like, this is your 1.5-inch webbing here, As you can see, this belt is pretty sturdy all by itself. I really don't have to do a lot besides hold it for it to hold itself up, where your basic leather belt or any belt that you're gonna go get at a store is gonna be pretty flimsy, kind of like this material here. Now with a gun belt, this is gonna go on your pants obviously and hold up pretty freaking firm. So when your gun's on here, it's not hanging off to the side, it's not flopping around, it keeps things nice and sturdy. So if you do not have a gun belt and you carry a gun, honestly, do what you gotta do to get a gun belt and you will be forever thankful. It really will change your whole carry setup. Now this belt here is from Dangerous But Good. They make some good belts, very quality, but as you can see, this belt's about brand new and I've had it for 2 years, and that is because I cannot stand how this flap overlaps right here. Not a big fan of it. So most belts or gun belts, they will meet in the middle, they will not overlap, and I just can't get used to this overlapping. Not a big fan of it. And the belt that I have on, that I have been using probably the past year, and I'll just go ahead and take it off to show you guys, is from Click. Now, K-L-I-K, Click belts. I will leave a link down in the video description. I've had a lot of really good luck with this belt, and one reason I like this belt compared to some of my other carry belts, and I should have brought more belts up here, I didn't think about it, this belt is just a little bit thinner. Now it is still your 1.5 inch webbing, but as you can see, there's a little bit more play with this belt, but it is still a Cobra buckle. So on this belt, it's not overlapping in the front, and that's pretty normal. Dangerous But Good is one of the few companies I've seen that does do that, and I'm not sure why they do. It's kind of a waste of material, but is what it is. But this Click belt has been one of my favorites, and I've found myself wearing this for the past year because it is just a little bit flimsier, and I do like that they left this like no 1.5 inch thick ass webbing here, so it gives you a little bit of ease up front, you know, maneuverability, things like that. Now I don't carry appendix, so I really can't speak on that. But I know a lot of guys who do carry appendix like to rock their, you know, Cobra buckle or whatever buckle a little bit off to the side. So Click belts, awesome company. I've had a ton of good luck with this belt, and I think I'm probably gonna order another one because I did see they started making these in black multicam. So I'll definitely leave a link down to Click belts below. Now moving on from there, 2 items that I usually have with me, my wallet, and this is a Nixon, it's a multicam wallet. I picked one up, I wanna say like 2 or 3 years ago. I saw it online, just saw the multicam, and I was like, that's badass, I like it. So I went ahead and ordered it, and since then, I think this is my second one. So one of them lasted like 2 or 3 years, so I just ordered this one probably 6 or 8 months ago. Big fan of the wallet, and I probably did buy it because it's multicam. Car key, this is a key. I actually changed the shell. I have a 2018 Dodge Durango RT with a 5.7 in it. Now moving into lights. I just set a few lights out here. If you guys are fans of the channel, have watched me for any amount of time, you'll know that I'm a big fan of flashlights. These 2 are OLIGHTs. This is an OLIGHT S2R baton, and I do have an OLIGHT S2R baton too that I recently lost, which is pretty upsetting because it is one of my more, you know, favorite lights, I would say. But the OLIGHT S2R baton 2 can run off of a single 18650 battery or 2 CR123s. I kind of like the versatility of it, and of course it is magnetically charged, which is very convenient. That light usually stays with me, and one light that I always have with me is this OLIGHT S1R baton 2, just a newer version of the OLIGHT S1R, which I actually have one behind me here, and then I have another version of the OLIGHT S1R baton 2. This one is in like a limited edition. I don't want to say copper color, but it's more of a goldish color. Nice light. And here is the first version of the OLIGHT S1R baton. Still a very solid light, but the S1R baton 2 is just a great light for how small it is. You really can't beat that. Now moving into some carry blades. Now I was gonna bring some more knives up here, but I figured there's really no need to lay out like 500 knives. I can just go over some of my most carried knives, and if you guys do want to see a knife video, even a knife collection video, me talking about some of my favorite knives out of my collection, let me know down in the comment section below. This knife here is one that I honestly don't carry this knife like every day, but this is one of my favorite fixed blade knives, and this is the KBAR TDI, and this one here is serrated. Now, all these knives here, I do frequently use. Besides this one, I would say I do carry it. I usually keep it in my backpack, so it is with me, but it's not necessarily on my person. I don't wear it on my belt. I did stipple the handle here if I ever do want to wear it on my belt, where this faces the outside. I didn't want to stipple here because that just doesn't really feel good up against your stomach. So pretty cool knife, and like I said, that usually stays in my backpack. Now, I would say my absolute most carried knife of all time is going to be this Spyderco Paramilitary 2. And I have a few of these. This one is my favorite combination with the black blade Digicam. G10 grip. This knife is just so worked in and so nice, and if any of you guys own a Spyderco, you'll kind of know how they get broken in, and you really just can't beat it. They're plain, they're simple, and they just freaking work. Now, like I said, I've had this knife, this one, exact combo, black blade digi camo handle. I've probably had this knife for 3, maybe 4 years, and this knife has been extremely solid. One of my all-time favorites for sure. Now, a knife that I picked up probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago because of Jonathan over at Tactical Toolbox is this Quartermasterton Templeton. Now, these knives are sweet. They are a limited number. I want to say this is number 47 of 300 ever made. He has a black, all black stonewash. I really wanted that, but all I could find was the normal stonewash, which is still a really badass knife. I'm not sure if you could even buy these anymore because they are limited run. So I'm sure if you did see one come up for sale, it'd be on the used market. And I honestly forget what I paid for this knife. It was, I want to say around 200 bucks. So if you find one of these on the, used market, it's probably going to be upwards of $200 to $250. Next up, another knife that I do like to carry a lot, but I really, to be completely honest, don't like to use a ton, is this Microtech, and I think this is the UTX 85. This is my first Microtech, this is my only Microtech, and I definitely would like to get into some more of them. Now, this is an out the front knife, awesome blades. Be sure to check your state and local laws if you are allowed to have a out the front spring assisted knife, but this is one of those knives, great conversation piece. Anytime I whip this thing out to use it, someone's always saying, damn man, what is that? And here in Indiana, you are allowed to have these knives. So years ago, gas stations, all the cheap little knockoff flea market knives, they started selling all these OTF knives. So some people really don't know the differences, but this is one of those knives that you pick up and you can just tell that there is a lot of time and a lot of quality put into these knives. All in all, just a really nice blade. And I do remember years ago, when I was first kind of getting into gun stuff, I've always been into guns, but I was more or less getting into everyday carry stuff, and I would always tell myself, like I was buying Kershaw's, maybe a few cheaper Spydercos. I was like, how could somebody spend $100+ on a knife? That's just crazy. And a couple years down the road, I find myself being that crazy person. So, a new knife to the collection that I recently got, I want to say I got this in December. My buddy Dustin, who co-owns the shop up here with me, bought me this knife for Christmas, and I absolutely love it. This thing comes in at like 25 or 30 bucks, and this is honestly one of the most solid CRKTs that I own. I think it is called the Pillar, P-I-L-A-R, and honestly, I just love how small this knife is. I love how good it feels, and this, like I said, is one of those knives you pick up and you just kind of feel that it's quality. Now, this knife is made in Taiwan or China, something like that, but it is one of my favorite CRKTs, and honestly, for the size of it, for the price of it, you just really can't beat it. Now, a lot of guys, I know the last time I made a video on my EDC, it's been a little while, but people were asking about multi-tools. Now, multi-tools are something I personally really don't carry on my person. This is a Leatherman Micra, and I could not find my Leatherman Skeletool. I have a lot of my stuff packed up, divorced recently, moving, all that crap. But I do have a Leatherman Skeletool, which is probably my favorite multi-tool, but if I was going to carry a multi-tool on my person, it would be something like this Leatherman Micra, nice and compact, but for now I just keep this in my little everyday carry kit in my backpack. Now I'm gonna get all this stuff cleaned up and we're gonna go over some of the items in my backpack. Alrighty, this is my 511 pack. Now this is, I want to say like a 30-liter backpack. They go by liters. I'm not positive on that. I've had this pack for probably about 2 or 3 years now. I have a lot of time and a lot of miles on this thing, and it's been a pretty sturdy pack. Now I'm just going to go through the contents of this, and some of the stuff in here, or that is normally in here, we went over already. Like I do keep a couple spare mags in here, I keep a couple flashlights, things like that, but I just went over those with the EDC items. Now, probably the main focal point of this pack, at least to me, would be my IFAK. Now this is a VanQuest pack, this is an IFAK that I built, and I'm not going to go over all the contents of this, but this opens up. I have tourniquets in here, combat gauze, tweezers, scissors, band-aids, some medicines, things like that, some stuff for burns, all of your basic IFAK material. Now, I started carrying this IFAK like when I would go to the range all the time. I was like, well, I should probably keep some medical supplies with me, and then that kind of turned into, let's just build one for a dedicated backpack that I keep with me all the time. Now, this is just a tripod for one of my cameras on the go. We have a 50-round skeletonized drum from F5. I do have an AR with me today, so I threw that in the backpack. I like to keep a bigger fixed blade And this is a Smith & Wesson. This is just kind of a cheaper fixed blade, nothing fancy, but I do like how thick the blade is in the back. So if I have to use this for prying or like anything in the woods, this is kind of just a good, bigger type of fixed blade knife. I keep some gloves with me. I'm not a big fan of gloves, so I like to keep thinner gloves, and I usually don't even use those, but you never know if something were to happen. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have some gloves. Now, up in these two pockets, just some random type stuff. An extra lighter, some hand sanitizer. In this little thing, I keep a bunch of cords or chargers. I don't even have an iPhone, but I like to keep an iPhone charger. You just never know. Let's see what else is here. In this pocket, I have a TK4 tourniquet, and I do have some other tourniquets in my IFAC, but these TK4s, I picked up 20 or 30 of them at a gun show, really cheap ones, so they're handy just to throw wherever. You really can't have too many tourniquets, I guess. Duct tape. Duct tape is a must, and what I like to do is get like a piece of brass, like this is a piece of 223 brass, and I just wrap some duct tape on it so I don't have to carry like the big roll with me. And if you ever need a little piece of duct tape, you got that on hand. Rubber bands, you never really know when you're gonna need those. And this is a cool little pack, or I have a bunch of these little packs for batteries. These are CR123s. Most of the lights I carry are gonna have CR123 batteries, so I always like to keep a couple of those on hand as well. Now moving to the outer pockets on here, and as I mentioned earlier, some of the stuff that I normally have in these pockets aren't in here because we went over them earlier, but Right in the Rain notepad, these things are awesome. I forget where I picked this up, maybe a Milsurp store or something like that. Great to have. Always keep another lighter. Lighters are just handy. Some wireless AirPods. Always keep headphones with me. I'm a big fan of listening to music. So this bottom pocket, nothing too crazy. Got pens, markers, lens cleaners, little knife sharpener. I got this with one of my tack packs, and this is a pretty cool little knife sharpener, nothing too crazy, but if you need to get you a sharp edge quickly, this little thing does a pretty good job. Besides that, guys, I really think that is about it. And there's one other thing about this backpack that I want to touch on that I think a lot of people should be doing, and you could probably do this with any backpack. It is just handier when they do have this back pocket. And what that is level 3A armor. Now, level 3A is nothing too crazy. This is very lightweight, as you can see, flimsy, and this is gonna stop most of your pistol rated rounds. Now, these are cool for backpacks, like I said, if you have a student, one of your kids goes to school, you're a college student, or you just carry a backpack in general. These Premier body armor plates, or panels, because they're not plates, are pretty badass. But guys, I think that is going to wrap up my 2021 EDC video here. If you guys have any further questions on anything we talked about, if there's anything else you guys would like to see, definitely leave that down in the comments below. And guys, I really can't tell you how much I appreciate the support as I get back into making videos. Every time I post a video and get comments and get feedback, I just really want to post another one. So I'm trying to get back into the swing here. As it gets nicer and I get out and shoot more, things will be a little bit easier. But let me know what you guys want to see next, and I will do my best to make that happen. Thanks guys, I appreciate all the support. I'll catch you in the next one.